I will. All right, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Remember, Wendy, your presence here is just a testament. She proved me wrong, certainly, and maybe a lot of others that are here. This wasn't the way it was supposed to go. I definitely thought Tom would vote for her. I truly thought she'd be here forever. She was just so healthy and full of energy, a vibrant spirit, just a boundless joy that touched everybody. And she did live life to the absolute fullest. Wendy had this genuine connection in every interaction she made with you, no matter where she was. She just made you feel like you were the most important person in the world at that moment. And after she passed, I realized how precious that was, and I can't really think of anybody else that has that. Just a little bit in her daughters, for sure. But it didn't really matter where you were or what you were talking about. Even sometimes I tried to tick her off a little bit. She was just passionate and looked you in the eyes and had that conversation. It was pretty special. I want to start off by extending my deepest condolences to the entire family, especially Tom and your beautiful daughters. I'll always admire the mutual devotion between Tom and Wendy. And I'll also admire the profound bond between the girls and Wendy. It was something special to watch. I know that you guys all miss her, but you all miss her, and it does hurt. But it's okay to hurt and miss someone, because in a way it makes you feel happy. It makes you feel happy that you're thinking about her. It just makes you feel happy remembering the conversations you had with her. There's the walks and the talks and the berry picking and the purple fingers you always had. And, the daughters snuggled on the couch with her. Just a little. So we are all here, and we're mourning her passing, but we want to celebrate her life today and remember her kindness and the way she touched all of our hearts. So I know we probably all have, but if you forgot to shut your phone off, maybe if you could please do that, just put it on silent. Just want to keep a respectful environment here for the speakers, because we're going to share some stories, we're going to share some memories today, and just to remember and talk about the incredible person that Wendy was. Towards the end, on the pamphlet here, you'll see the agenda, but towards the end, there's an open mic, and I encourage you guys, if you'd like to come up during that period. I think the family would really appreciate it, to come and say a few words. And just thanks everybody for coming here. We really all appreciate it. It means more to the family than you know. Thank you. Start it off. Wendy's, I don't think I have to tell you who Wendy's brothers or sisters are. They look exactly.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's really weird for me to see my name Marty, because Marty, they were the ones that helped Mom out when I was a baby, and they probably had to change my bottom, for a couple of years, maybe a few years, might have been 4 years. I don't know. I want to open just with a couple of passages from I always wondered why it wasn't called Mark 10. It was so cool, I thought. Growing up, I was Mark 10. It was nice. But I guess Mom wanted to make sure that we weren't just a number. There was some wisdom there. So it's Mark 10. But for today, I'm Marty for Wendy. Because I was the Marty. And I guess that means all her kids have to call me Marty too. So yeah, right. Yeah, sounds good. I'm all right with that. That's really cool. I just wanted to start off with just a couple of passages from the Gospel of John. Yeah. 3. No, probably just 2. This is John's last meal with Jesus before chapters 1. It's crazy, but this Jesus said, you will know all, so you will always be with me. And Jesus told them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And I got thinking about that again tonight. I think about John. John always just talked to Jesus all the time, but the only talk about Jesus, right? What I really love about John is that he said he was a disciple that Jesus loved. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And I also know that I was the brother that Wendy loved. Said, make you think that you're the most special person. Make you think that you're the most special person in the world. And when she zeroed in and first moved out west, Mom and Wendy were the first to come to visit us. All the back deck, my grandkids, and they're about the sick, and she'd come out. She knew they were special to me, so they were special to her, my grandkids. And that afternoon we went swimming in the Red Deer, because I said I love swimming in the Red Deer. Like the Red Deer was, and it's really warm down there compared to the rivers up here. So anyways, she went swimming in the Red Deer, and we were right on the border. So when we went into the Red Deer, it was the Alberta border and Saskatchewan border, and you had to swim up through. It was about 12 feet deep, and there was a sandbar about 100 feet out. We had to swim across that, and by the time you got to the sandbar, you were in Saskatchewan. It was pretty cool. She always thought that was so cool. She was like, I swam from Alberta to Saskatchewan. She just loved it. And she'd jump in and swim back, and she'd be on the Saskatchewan side down because of the current would take you right down when you're swimming across. You're in Saskatchewan again, right? She took up a conversation with these guys. This is Wendy, you know. And they pulled out a 5-pound pickerel right there, you know, and she brought her home and we had dinner that day. And so, that was Tom who cooked it, of course, yeah. And the fish without putting the line in the water. She was just so amazing, yeah, I can faithfully say that I'm a brother that Wendy loved, and I know there's a lot of friends in this room that Wendy loved. A lot of daughters and granddaughters and a husband that Wendy loved. I just want to pray this morning for this celebration, really. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for Wendy. We thank you for the impact she's had in everyone here, I think. And that's just, what a testament just to look out and see the faces that she's touched. Father, I just ask that you just bless this celebration. Father God, just make it a strengthening tool here, that just strengthen their kids and just show them what love looks like. Help us as we talk about it and share our memories. And Wendy would just love this. I just thank you for it today. Just bless us time. Thank you, Father. Amen.
Thanks, Mark. That was great. I chuckled. There's a book here that I know there's going to be some readings from it that Wendy, one of her daughters, asked her to write a little story once a week for a year. And Tom put the book together here after her passing, and I was going through it. I know why Tom cooks all the time. Wendy had tried to make pizza when they first started getting together. She realized right then and there, I'm not going to be the cook in the relationship. So. And essentially dance like no one's watching, so enjoy. Yeah, don't be shy to join in as soon as Jessica starts playing the music here. Okay, now I'm gonna invite up Elise Whitford, Wendy's daughter.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today while we honor the life of our beloved mother, Wendy. I know people travel great distances in winter weather. We really appreciate your great friend to many. But you guys all know that because it was you she was a friend of. I've had numerous people come up to me since her passing, telling me how considerate my mother was, and how she always had time for the community and made people feel heard when they were with her. She always gave her undivided attention in the moment. And I want to clarify that yes, my mom did have a strong partner at home. My mom never had to worry about what to make for dinner, or hurry home to hit the grocery store, or juggle anything herself. My dad was an exceptional father and husband, and that happy, wonderful woman that you all came to know and love was a product of tender love and care from my dad for many decades. My parents showed up for each other every day for over 40 years. My father is the most dependable man I've ever known, and because of his care and consideration to my mother, we all got to enjoy her calm, outgoing, happy personality. He filled her cup right up, and when it overflowed, it was available to nourish the community around her. They were a team, and I pray that in my own marriage, we keep the balance of deep love, that kind of balance and deep love for each other to continue having this beautiful life together the way my parents did. Because regardless of my parents' ability to work so effortlessly as a team gave my siblings and myself the foundation to go off and make beautiful lives of our own as we grew up. Knowing Mom was always just a phone call away in case we needed guidance. My mom was happy to try new things and never felt she had to be the best at anything to like it. She was constantly learning and involved in so many hobbies and interests. I can't think of a single Christmas where Mom hadn't made us something special from her most recent hobby choice. This year she managed to make rag mats well before Christmas and had 4 completed at the house when we came together after her passing. I think she was preparing for the long road ahead with her treatment and wasn't sure she would have the energy for projects closer to the holidays. She always thought of others and enjoyed sharing the fruits of her labor with whatever new activity she was learning. There isn't a room in my house that doesn't have something reminding us of Grandma. Not a watercolor painting or sewing project. It's a book she brought for the kids or a framed photo from one of our wonderful holidays together. My mother was very intentional and never brought things that weren't perfect for them. She instead brought her time to always play and have space for everyone. She knew money would never buy happiness and that her grandbabies needed her attention, her ideas, and her constant unconditional love above all else. And I hope to God my kids are able to hold on to those special memories that they have with her. Because at 6 and 3 years old, my biggest fear is now that they will not remember all those wonderful experiences they had with family gathered together. My mother was an exceptional grandmother, and while I had a wonderful upbringing and have been close to my mom my whole life, I can say that watching her grandparent my babies was the most special gift she has ever given me. From the day their grandchildren are born, my parents show up. My mom had multiple games and storylines that her and Miles would make believe with. She FaceTimed daily and knew all of their likes, dislikes, and interests. She had no problem getting on the floor to play or climbing on the playground to keep up with them. She was patient and kind and made my boys feel so much constant love in person and when we were apart. As part of Wild's homeschool this year, he asked Grandma to be his pen pal to practice writing. Her last letter arrived to our home after her passing, dated just days before she was admitted to the ICU. She discussed their new superhero character, how proud she was of his piano practice, and told him about her newest hobby, knitting. She ended the letter asking if the boys would like to go to the ocean this summer to see the whales. We will cherish this note forever, as it sums up the type of grandma that she was, involved, encouraging, and always down for the next adventure. What happened to our mother shouldn't have happened, and while we will never have justice for the decisions made by the people in charge of her care, we can all educate ourselves on early signs of sepsis. Please, everyone, go home and Google it and just get an understanding of what the early signs are, because it is a serious condition, and a little knowledge for everyone would go a long way. We should all learn what to watch for, because early treatment is the only way to survive sepsis. Oh. But it is treatable when detected early enough. I know my mom's diagnosis and treatment would have played out significantly different if she had taken this type of intense medication under a more watchful eye in a larger hospital with trained staff and equipment available. We as a society need to demand better. Mom was the healthiest person in our family, mind, body, and soul, and if this can happen to her, it can happen to any one of us. So please hug your loved ones, show up for your partners and children, lean in towards your family, and carry a little of my mom with you into the years ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Meg. That's beautiful. Wendy's brother Peter's up next here. Peter, want to come on up?
Hi, Peter. Hi, Peter. Wendy's older brother, not by much. And Tom wondered if I wanted to share some memories of him. But my memory's not very good, so I had to look at some old photos. And that was pretty scary. One thing I saw in the old photos was that Wendy's been taller than me since I was barely 4 years old. So she would only been 2.5. Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty crazy. So I wrote down a few notes. And one thing that was our favorite memory, my favorite memory, was our trips out to Echo or Pike Lake on a Sunday afternoon after church. And yeah, we would, it was the only day that we didn't work on the farm. It was on Sunday. Anyways, Mom would make a big picnic lunch, and then after church, and then we'd all head out there. And this one time we were out there, we used to jump off the dock there, cannonball in and whatnot. And this one day, I jumped in, then Wendy jumped in after me. And when she popped up out of the water, something was wrong with her garment. She had a two-piece bathing suit on, and she had a wardrobe malfunction. And if you knew Wendy back then, she was kind of shy, but she was also very prim and proper, you might say. So here she comes up, and her top was a two-piece bathing suit, and it had misaligned, and there was a little exposure that, and I saw it, and she didn't know, and I'm sort of like trying not to get any attention to anybody else so they wouldn't see it. And then as soon as she saw it, she got down under the water. But, you know, memories like that are just, that's a memory that'll stick in your mind forever. So, what I say to my kids now, and anybody else that wants to listen, is that life can be
short, no matter if you live to be 100 or whatever. So, in the end of your life, in the end time, all you're going to have is your memories. So make some good ones along the way. You know? That's all you got. May as well have good memories. May as well have sad memories. So, anyways. So, years later, when my first wife and I had 3 girls, and Tom and Wendy were back from Germany and moved up to Clement, and they had 4 girls. We made a trip up there, and they were living up there, and that's what my girl's favorite memory is. Now, I'm just going to read a short thing that my daughter Shelley sent me. She says, "Hi, Dad. I think you're flying out to BC today. Safe travels. Leah gave you anything to say about Wendy, but my memories of her would be from our trip to visit them in Kidderminster and at our family reunion. She was energetic, had an infectious laugh, was very loving, and made sure that we all had a fun time. That's about all I have to say. Haven't seen her for years. But anyways, so I had a picture taken. I don't know who took it. Maybe Tom took it. But it's a picture. I don't know if you can see it or not. You can look at it later. But it's a big tree that had flipped over, had fallen into the ocean and washed up on the shore. And in this picture is Wendy and my wife Joanne and all 7 kids. I call this the family tree root. So that was a fabulous memory for my girls. So they wanted me to let you know that. They just thought the world of her. And I don't know what I have. I wrote down some notes, but I just remembering. Okay. So, after that, the last best visit that I had with Wendy was in Drumheller last June. And Tom and Wendy and Wild and Beta came down, did a camping trip, and it was down at a campground in Drumheller, and they invited Marilyn and I to come down if we wanted to spend the day, and luckily, I was retired. Otherwise, I would have been hauling concrete or running a cab or some darn thing. So that's something that I consider precious. It was the last time I saw Wendy. And it was just the best day. We had so much fun. Beta, I'm not sure if I've got it right, and Wild, we're climbing up in the hoodoos. I don't know if you've ever been in Drumheller, but those hoodoos are high. There's no trees on them or nothing, just bare rock. And they were up there, and Wendy had to go up there and kind of be with them, you know, to be safe. We didn't go up that hill. And then we went on a little coal mine, an old coal mine, I think, when we had a train ride. First time I've ever been on a train. But that's the last picture I got. Tom was leading the way in the first car, and Wendy was in front of him, and Ada and Wild were right behind them, waving. And it was just a perfect day, and that's my perfect memory and I hope everybody else has a good memory of Wendy as well. Thank you.
Great, cheers. Thanks, Peter. Awesome. Jessica, Wendy's oldest daughter, Jessica's coming up.
I'm not the oldest daughter, I'm the one daughter. I'm not the favorite, though. Well, that's true. For 2 years I was. So as previously mentioned, my mom spent a year writing stories about her life, and I have no better words than what I'm going to read. This chapter is called What Makes You Happy. I just finished a big bowl of yogurt, raspberries, and granola that made me happy. Not just happy, actually, but blessed, because I can start my mornings with a healthy breakfast every day and not have to worry that there won't be anything left in the fridge for lunch, mostly because Dad just went grocery shopping. Blessed because I have a warm house to wake up to, out of a warm bed. Blessed because I have a loving husband to greet me in the morning with coffee. And blessed because I have a secure, cared for, and physically able, and because I am secure, cared for, and physically able to enjoy any number of rewarding activities throughout my day. When I try to nail down what makes me happy, it is those things that come to mind. I wonder, would I be happy if any of my life were full of challenges and heartbreaks that so many in the world are facing right now? Would I be able to see the beauty around me if I was worried about where my next meal was coming from? Again, grocery store and Dad. I feel as if this was an opportunity to think about what really matters in life. So, what does make me happy? First, family. Nothing gives me more joy than when one of the grandchildren launches themselves into my arm for a hug without being asked. Not as common now as they're getting older and cooler, but even more precious because of that. Knowing my children are safe and secure and able to weather the challenges in their lives and come out stronger for them is a huge source of happiness. And just having my children as friends, knowing we can agree to disagree and still respect and love each other unconditionally. I'm blessed to have an involved, caring husband to share the exploits of our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchild, and with whom I can plan some exploits of our own. And of course, there is my extended family, those 9 siblings who I rarely see but feel so connected to. I'm happy that I'm physically fit, okay, not Jane Fonda fit, but healthy. I was sitting in the hot tub after aquafit yesterday, and a woman I was chatting with was telling me, very matter-of-factly, that she could only do 1 session a week as she had to recover for the rest of the week. Recover from the pain of a hip that needed replacing, a knee that was shot, and stenosis in her back. I know that at 65, I'm lucky to have all my body parts still working smoothly, and I'm grateful for that. It gives me a lot of happiness to be able to hike and bike and dance and do the things I've always done without having to think about whether I'm about to blow my knee. I'm happy that I still feel useful as a person, that I'm able to give back to my community, perhaps not with any grand gestures, but by doing my small part to make our community a better place. I remember at our going away party when we left Clement, a woman who I didn't know very well, telling me that me leaving was like a light going out in Clement.
That was such a huge compliment, and I've often thought about her saying and realizing that we can all do our part to be a spark of light in our community, and if everyone did, we could really set the tone that the town ablaze. I can't see. And finally, I'm happy that there are so many reasons to feel joy just in our surroundings. I'm so looking forward to the first green leaves of spring, to finding the first pussy willows on our walks by the creek, and to hearing the swans and geese returning to the river. I hope we can spend time at the lake this summer, as there is nothing more beautiful than the silent reflection of the water during an early morning kayak. I can't wait to see the first crop of hay bale in the field, and the raspberries hanging on the bushes, waiting to be picked.
And when winter returns, which is all too soon, I look forward to the dazzling diamonds in the snow on clear, cold days. When I pause and think about the things in my life that are most important, I know that I'm a very lucky woman, and that makes me happy.
Thanks, Jessica. That was beautiful. Another little part of her book there. Reading it, I didn't read it all yet, but I read some of it. When Kennedy got shot, it was her first memory of politics, and she did. I remember saying, "Well, if not me, then who? If not now, then when?" Like, she didn't come up with that. So there's Google helped me figure that out, and it kind of made a lot of things make sense. Anyway. Eleanor, Wendy's sister's coming up next. I must say she has the exact same eyes as Wendy. I was looking and talking with her yesterday. It's unbelievable.
She's that boss here.
That book of Wendy's is surprising because, it's not surprising because my kids heard that Wendy had done this book, and then of course Wendy passed away. So for Christmas, I get that program. And I tell you, Memento is not a Christmas gift that your kids give to you. It's a Christmas gift that they give to themselves. Now, mind you, they pay for it, but you do the work. I got a whole year to write stories about myself. I hope I can do a fraction as well as what Wendy did. That was wonderful, wonderful, Jessica. That was so beautiful, what you read. I'm inspired now. I want to do my one for this week on the same topic. It is an honor for me, a great honor for me today to help celebrate the life of my remarkable baby sister, Wendy. Now, my perspective is a bit unique because I was 10 when she was born in 1957, and I can remember her infancy and her younger years. Better than anybody here in this room, except maybe Wright, and he's too old to remember anything. Sorry, Wright. Now, we got a little smile when we learned that this event was to be held on Wendy's birthday in January. And I'm sure one of us Jarvises wondered, which birthday? Because for many years, we thought Wendy's birthday was January the 13th, and that's when she always blew out her birthday candles, on the 13th, on that day. Now, the mistake was probably uncovered when she was applying for a birth certificate or a passport, I don't know. But today I'd like to explain the possible mix-up and exonerate the Jarvis family, if I can. At the imminent arrival of baby Wendy, the Jarvises were living in a 2-bedroom cottage that my dad had made by adding on to a garage. My older brothers had 1 bedroom. I had the couch in the living room. 2 siblings were in a single cot at the end of my parents' bedroom. And little Peter, at only a year and a half old, was still in the crib. Across the yard, our Grampy Dan was living alone in the big farmhouse. Something had to be done. In order to make room for the new baby, Grampy finally agreed to trade houses. That January, there was a thaw, and the yard was thick with slush. But we spent all day on the 13th, trekking back and forth, carrying all our belongings over the way, and helping my grandfather bring his stuff back into the little house. That night, we all had plenty of space. Oh, Peter was posted into a big boy bed, which he shared with Huey, and the empty crib was all ready for the new baby, who arrived on January the 18th. But I asked him, if you were a family of 9, which day would you celebrate? The day you got a new baby sister, or the day you got a new baby sister and a 5-bedroom house with indoor plumbing? Are we exonerated yet? And then there's the matter of her name. all of us older siblings got old-fashioned names, either biblical or from the family tree, very traditional. Now in the 50s, Wendy was considered a modern whimsical name. But Mom had been reading us Peter Pan as a bedtime story, and she rationalized, well, we got Peter Pan, why not Wendy? However, at the time, we had a very opinionated step-grandmother who claimed that Wendy was not a proper name. Oh, we could call her that if we wanted to, but she should be christened Gwendolyn as her official name. Step-grandma also had no children of her own, and she thought that her other name, Louise, could just as easily be Llewellyn, which would perpetuate her name. Now, there's also a middle given name, Lyle. Did you know that Lyle is spelled with an S? So, Gwendolyn, Lizzle, Llewellyn made a perfect way for us older siblings to tease the little girl. Now, not in a mean way, mind you. Not enough to hurt her feelings, just enough to toughen her up and help her build character. Now, you probably know Wendy as a very strong, quick, capable person with an easygoing personality, super communication skills, and great hair. But she sure didn't start out that way. Wendy was completely bald until she was 2. She didn't talk much, believe it or not, until she was almost 3, and she was very slow learning to walk. Now, I take responsibility for the walking thing because I used to carry her around a lot just to keep her from getting stepped on. She was kind of a grumpy, sensitive, reactive little person as well. She spent quite a few sessions sitting at the foot of the stairs for making a big fuss at the dinner table. However, before she started school, it was discovered that she seriously needed glasses. And once she could properly see, there was no holding her back. She quickly learned to read, she sailed over grade 1, and finished grade 2 her first year. I tell you, she sure made up for lost time. And we remember her now as a cheerful, outgoing kid, bright academically, and a social magnet with her friends. Later in life, when she and I became more friends than just the big and little sister bond, I genuinely admired her ability to soak the most fun and adventure out of every holiday or even an everyday activity. Her passion for leaving a tiny carbon footprint on this earth, and also her creativity at giving cast-off things a second life. I've got mitts made by Wendy out of old wool sweaters. We have some squashed pot can Christmas decorations. And most recently, I've been using some lovely little bowls made out of clothesline string. Like everyone here, Wendy has faced some challenges in her life. But even in her darkest moments, we didn't hear much whining or complaining. Besides her creativity, we will remember Wendy for her humor and her loyalty. She was that rare person who could lead without pushing, love without judgment, and remember without regret. She colored this world with the brightest crayons in the box. And her tremendous positive attitude shines like a beacon in my heart and will always be my most precious memory of Wendy. Thank you.
That was beautiful, Eleanor. I'm learning a lot today. The Wendy Peter Pan.
I don't know where you're getting your 15
I don't know. But I do know there's a new whiskey out, I think, Wait made with Wendy on it, Peter Pan. So we'll have to try that. But moving on, my wife Lars is going to come up here and say a few words.
I know it's already been said a few times, but thank you all for being here as we gather today to celebrate the extraordinary life of my mother. It really means a lot to all of us to know that she touched so many throughout her life. It's impossible to sum up a life as full and vibrant as hers in just a few words, but I will do my best to honor her legacy and share the joy she brought into our lives. My mom had an incredible gift of finding happiness in the simple things, whether it was taking long walks with friends, spending hours picking berries, or gliding across a smooth lake in her kayak. She always found beauty and peace in life's quiet moments. She loved watching the stars at night, marveling at the vastness of the universe. And her favorite moments often included a warm hug from one of her many grandchildren who brought her endless joy. The world was unique. She wasn't interested in fancy resorts or lounging by a pool. She sought to truly immerse herself in the cultures and ways of life of the places she visited. She had limitless curiosity about the world and a deep respect for the people she met along her journeys. She saw the beauty and diversity and cherished the connections she made with others. What made my mom truly special was her unwavering dedications to helping others. She was always there to volunteer her time or lend a hand, whether it was a friend in need, a family member seeking comfort, or even a stranger who crossed her path. Her kindness and boundless, and she had a way of making everyone share. She had a remarkable ability to listen, truly listen to people, making them feel understood and appreciated. She cared deeply for everyone that she encountered, and her compassion left a lasting impact on all of us. Today, as we celebrate her life, I encourage you to carry forward the lessons she taught us. Find joy in life's simple pleasures, be curious about the world, and open to new experiences. Show kindness and compassion to everyone you meet, and most importantly, hold tight to the love and memories we shared with her. I find comfort in believing that God needed her more than we did. Although we may never fully understand the reasons He called her home so soon, I trust that one day we will be reunited and all will be revealed. Until that day, I will carry her love and memories deep within my heart, knowing that she watches over us from above. Her kindness, her strength, and her joy will continue to guide me, just as her love shaped me into who I am today. Thank you for the beautiful life you shared with us. I love you, Mom. And though I miss you more than words can say, I know that this is not goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now.
Set it free and
contagious. Kennedy, granddaughter, come on up.
Simply not old enough to have a child as old as my father, a brother as old, a grandson as old as my brother, or a 27-year-old granddaughter. So, with all that out of the way, I'm going to go home and then I'm going to read yet another little chapter from her book. It's a poem, "And She Is Gone" by David Harkins. You can shed a tear that she has gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see her, or you can be full of love that you share. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what you would wanted, smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. And the chapter I'm going to read about is, how did your parents pick your name? So the standard joke in our family is that by the time I was born, Mom and Dad had known all the good names, and they're just scrambling for any old thing. Mom had already honored her parents, favorite cousins, and best friends, although I'm not sure why they didn't name me Joanna, after my father's mother, who had passed away just months before I was born. I think I would have liked that name. Disney's Peter Pan had just come out in 1953, so one theory is that they named Peter in 1955, then followed up 18 months later by naming me Wendy, like the characters in the movie. Although I very much doubt whether anyone in my family ever went to the movies to see Peter Pan. Apparently J.M. Barrie wrote the original Peter Pan play, got the name from Wendy, from a little girl who used to call him Wendy, meaning friendly Wendy. The name definitely was popular around that time, as I know lots of Wendys at the same age as me when I was growing up. There were probably at least half a dozen in my grade at school. Apparently my grandfather Wright, Mom's father, was aghast that I was being named some made-up name and encouraged her to at least call me Gwendolyn. Thankfully, they did not succumb to parental advice. My second name is Lyle, named after my great-aunt Lyle, who left the area to move to Vermont around that time. At least, I think that's true. My mother also had a close friend, Lyle Shipp, who lived up the road from us, and it was some kind of distant cousin of my dad's. I never met another female Lyle, but I went to school with a boy named Lyle. And despite my parents scrambling around for a name, I'm the only child in the family who got a third name. I have no idea where Louise came from. Perhaps not just like the alliteration, Wendy, Lyle, Louise, does sound better than just Wendy. I think if I was to be asked to give myself a name I like better, I'd be hard-pressed to come up with anything. I guess we grow into our names. I don't mind being Wendy. I'm pretty sure I'm friendly. I'm pretty friendly.
Thanks, Andy. Next to talk about some more memories, Marianne.
Hello. Being asked to say a few kind words about Aunt Wendy is like asking me to condense, one of Margaret Atwood's novels into a single tweet. Where to begin? When I think of my Aunt Wendy, I think of a life well of adventure. You've heard that time and time again from everybody who has come up and taken this microphone. When we were young, my brother and I, and we knew that Aunt Wendy was coming, we were relentless. We would bug and ask when Aunt Wendy or Aunt Val would come over, and my mom was sick and tired of responding to us. So then she stopped telling us. When Aunt Wendy or Aunt Val would come to the door, we would fall over each other, crash the door open, and scream, Aunt Wendy, Aunt Val. We'd bombard them with hugs, and Aunt Wendy would comply. Even though she'd come to visit my mom, she would comply. She would put on a puppet show. She would put on whatever ragtag things that we had to offer to, dress her up and dress us up. She would watch our magic tricks. She would snuggle our bunny or whatever animal we threw into her arms. She would make us feel like the most important person. Eventually my mom would kick us out so she could have time with Aunt Wendy, but we cherished the moments that she would spend time just with us. When she found out that my brother was collecting stamps, she would send them stamps. At that time she found out I wanted a pen pal, and she instilled in me, she became my pen pal, and she instilled in me a love of words and storytelling. I would get so excited to find one of her letters in the mailbox. Her unique cursive handwriting and bulging envelopes were treasures that I would look forward to. And once they arrived, I would run up the lane, waving them for all to see. And we had a very long lane. They were always so descriptive, full of life and color, that would take me to faraway places, reliving the sights, smells, and even the tastes of wherever her travels had taken her. Even the mundane, day-to-day activities seemed fascinating to hear Aunt Wendy tell them. I'll admit, my replies were much less impressive. I would go to my room, sit at my desk with a fancy pen and paper for hours, and muster up a humble, "Dear Aunt Wendy," followed by a few lines. Yet she always made me feel like my words mattered in her replies, telling me how much she enjoyed hearing from me before launching into another escapade. She had a real knack for expressing many things with kindness. Peter, my brother, and my sister after, but it's my brother I remember with me, were lucky enough to have 2 unforgettable trips to Europe when she and Uncle Tom were stationed near Lahr, Germany. The first time we went as a whole family, and they took us all over their place and put us in situations that were far from ordinary. But she was always so easygoing and calm. She managed to make the strange seem not daunting but exciting, joyful, and adventurous. Even though she spoke limited German, we would watch in awe as she would strike up conversations with her neighbors, ask directions, or share a laugh with complete strangers. She had the kindness of a small-town country girl who was at ease wherever she went. I remember thinking, wow, this is really cool. There's a whole big, colorful world to navigate. I want to have that too. The second time, it was just Peter and I. What an adventure they had planned for us, tailored to 2 busy teenagers. They took us skiing in the Alps, tanning in the bathhouses. We had raclette in a chalet. They even let us have meat fondue followed with schnapps. Quite exciting. I will be forever grateful for not only inspiring the love of adventure and trying new things, but she also encouraged us to slow down, take in the world around us, and truly cherish each experience. At one point in Brussels, we decided we needed the perfect souvenir of the mannequin kiss, and we were scouting for a souvenir shop. Aunt Wendy very tactfully and very kindly advised us that true souvenirs aren't the things that you buy. Life's greatest treasures are found in the moment we live and the connections we make, not in the souvenirs we collect. She told us to look around and enjoy the day, the experience, the feeling. Live fully in the moment. We needed to recognize what's important, and we will remember the places and experiences forever. My aunt was one of my heroes growing up. She had this incredible way of making the ordinary feel extraordinary. But childhood heroes sometimes change as we grow older. They can become just memories of who we thought they were. But not her, not Aunt Wendy. She grew with me. She wasn't just my hero as a child, she became one of my role models as an adult. Her kindness, her adventurous spirit, her humor, they weren't just things I admired from a distance anymore. They were things I tried to emulate in my own life. And now, as I stand here grappling with the weight of her loss, I realize she's still teaching me how to carry her legacy forward, how to live a life that would make her proud, how to find beauty in the smallest things, and of handling unexpected situations with grace and laughter. Thank you.
Thanks, Marianne. The German part brought back, she went to Portugal last year, and she learned Portuguese. I thought I knew Portuguese, but no. She was asking me words and what that meant. I'm like, I have no idea. I guess I just know like drunken red wine Portuguese. Yeah, she was a hero to so many, so it's great to hear that. Next up, a good friend of mine, Wendy Galvin. Thanks for coming. She made a heck of a trip to get here, so it's great to see you again, Wendy.
I didn't write a whole book to talk, I just have to have it written down. Josh is helping me because I fell flat on my face in a gym watching my grandson play basketball the other day. And I'm so petrified, I'd never fallen, and I'm so petrified now, I don't want to do any steps unless there's a handrail. So thank you, Josh. Although I gotta get myself just breathe, Tom, breathe. I was thinking about Wendy's siblings. I'm walking in your territory because I call Wendy my sister friend. Wendy's husband Tom, her children, grandchildren, and now one great-grandchildren were the pride of her life. She loved them all so much, and her friends, I'm sure, felt very special, like you've all talked about. I know I certainly felt special. She was a wonderful, wonderful friend. And Terry wanted, my husband is in a care home, but he wanted to be known. Wanted me to make sure you mention that I loved Wendy too. I said, I will. I met Wendy over 20 years ago. I don't remember when you moved from Clement into Fraser Lake, but that's where I met Wendy. And she was in a volunteer thing, and I happened to volunteer too, I guess. So we had met there, and then I practically lived at their house for about 6 months. In that the boys, my stepsons Paul and Stephen, were playing basketball, and when the time was over the dinner time. And so then they went to play with their friends in town, because we lived out of town in Franceville Lake. So I spent so much time in their house. Well, I did, and Tom put me in sports all the time. I remember one time, just a little side story here, Wendy and I were playing Scrabble, and we were getting hungry, and the kids wanted to eat, and Wendy goes to the basement door and goes, Tom, can you come up soon? We're starving up here. Tom is watching the playoffs of hockey. We laughed about that for a long time. You mentioned her volunteering quite a bit, and that's what I know about her too, is how much she loved to volunteer and help out whenever she could. And Wendy taught me Scrabble. And Wendy was an expert, of course. I had never even seen the game before. I was barely to get 100 points. I mean, I didn't know that game at all, right? And I also was a poor sport. I didn't like losing, and so one day Wendy told me I was a poor sport. We play with Wendy, and the two of you can play, and that would be fun. So I was happy about that. And Kate played with me for a while, and then she wanted to play on her own, and then I had two people beating me. I did improve over the years, but I have no memory of ever beating Wendy. Wendy loved to do projects, and when she wanted a new gate into the backyard and the gardens and stuff, my husband Terry showed her, and she made this lovely gate, and that was always such a source of pride when you see that gate that she made. It was lovely. Another fond memory I have that is Wendy and Tom were coming for lunch out to Franceville Lake, and at the last minute Wendy phoned and said, I'm bringing some extra people. And I went, okay. And so her and Tom showed up, they brought some food. My husband always cooked too much, so we had lots of food. She brought 11 people. We laughed about that for years. About her showing up to 11 people. Recently, we just had the January 1st polar swim, and it brought back a memory because Tom and Wendy and my husband Terry all went for a polar bear swim one year, quite a few years ago, into Franceville Lake, which happens to be the coldest lake in the world, so it's and I did not go. I only swam in that lake when I first married Terry, and the boys were 13, and I was trying to impress the teenage boys that I could do things that they could do, right? So I swam in that lake. But after that first year, I finished impressing them, and I didn't want to swim in that lake. Anyway, they went swimming, and I stayed up on shore and ran back and forth from the sauna. That was my 2 bits worth in there. I have so many good memories of her. When Stephen died, Tom and Wendy had just gone to Ashcroft, to their new home in Ashcroft, and they turned the car around and came back and were with Terry and I. They're such loyal friends. 2 weeks before before Wendy died, Tom and Wendy came and stayed with me in New West, which they did quite often, and I loved their visits. We had so much fun. And Wendy had to have a deep scan for cancer. Tom and I went for coffee and sat there for the hour that she was in there. And we had a lovely visit, but of course we didn't know that was going to be our last visit. And after that, after they left, they were going for Alice's birthday, and then home, and she was going to get her chemo. But we talked every single day that week, and I treasure that so much, I'm telling you. Like, who would know that we just had things to say all week long. I got to talk to her every single day. And that Friday, that was our last conversation on the Friday morning, and she was worried about the chemo and going bald. And she said, I just think my head might be a poor shape for a bald person. Anyway, we talked about hats and scarves and all the things that could help, and and we chuckled a bit about it. It was still serious, right? But we didn't know anything else. And then the next morning, Tom texted me and said, Wendy, pray, it's serious. We didn't know she was going to make it through the night. I went, what? You know, like, who knew this, right? And so I got my friends to pray, and I phoned up the 700 Club, and we were praying like a storm for her that weekend. And then the next morning, Tom told me, Wendy, it's worse. Get praying more. So we prayed more, and we asked others to join us, praying for Wendy's life. You know, we don't know why some prayers are answered, and some prayers are not answered the way we want them answered. But what we do know is we are all, every one of us, loved by God. And He has a plan for each of our lives. And I guess we'll understand someday. Anyway, thank you.
Scrabble, I learned that early when I met Wendy. I also learned that Webbers can't spell very well. Caitlin, the youngest daughter, Caitlin's coming up. Have a reading.
Okay, I'm going to read a couple things actually. I'm kind of nervous, but I've always wanted to be like my mom, and my mom's really brave, so here goes. As you all know, my mom was a very special woman. She knew how to live life to its fullest, find joy in everything, give generously, and love everyone. When I was younger, I used to get annoyed by my mom for some things. We couldn't go anywhere without her meeting someone to talk to and taking way longer than expected to leave. If we went and visited one of her friends, there would be like at least 3 goodbyes before we actually could get out the door. But as I grew up, I realized that this was actually one of her many gifts. She had an amazing ability to relate to anyone she met and to actually give her time to them. She genuinely cared about listening to others, and she made anyone that met her feel cared about and heard, just like everyone else has said. She never made me feel like I couldn't do anything. She once drove me to Seattle when I was 18 years old to get on a plane and fly to the other side of the world to spend half a year in Africa. I'm sure she had some fears of me going all by myself, but she never let on to them, and instead she just made me feel like she believed in me and encouraged me. I think the best gift she ever gave, though, was her unconditional love. She gave constantly to us and never asked anything in return. She continued to love us despite all our mistakes we made, and I couldn't have dreamed of a better mom. Sorry. Mom was constantly learning something new. Every time we talked to her, she had either learned a new craft, was studying a new language, upcycling something she found at the thrift store, or making some sort of wild craft project. She was also very busy in the community, as others have said, whether it was dance, aquafit, yoga, book club, participating in plays, or commissioning weddings on the weekends. She kept her schedule very busy, yet somehow whenever I called, and I'm sure when anyone called, she would have time to talk and to listen. And she actually listened. She wasn't doing something else at the same time or scrolling on her phone, she just listened. And the next time we talked to her, she had researched about what we were talking about or found out new information and wanted to share that. She was the most level-headed person I knew, and she never seemed to stress or get upset ever. I've never seen her upset. She was the biggest rock for me, and she's the person I told everything to. I feel extremely lucky to have grown up with parents who loved each other and continue to love each other. My mom and dad were a great team. This joke has already been made, but I'm pretty sure my mom wouldn't have been able to do quite as many things if she also had to cook for herself. My mom and dad were devoted to each other, and they gave such an amazing example to us of what a good partnership should look like. She didn't care what other people thought of her, and I'm sure her dance crew could attest to this, but she knew how to dance like no one was watching. And although this was caused to some embarrassment as a young child, I love this about her. The only thing that can make any sense of this sudden loss of my mom is that she was needed somewhere else. As I've been trying to learn how to deal with the grief that has left this huge hole in my heart and an emptiness I can't explain, I came across this quote. I think Mark maybe showed it to me. But grief expressed out loud, whether in or out of character, unchoreographed and honest for someone we have lost, is in itself the greatest praise we could ever give them. Grief is praise, because it is the natural way love honors what it misses. The book also this is from a book, and it also talked about how grieving is healthy to be done as a group, so I just want to thank everyone for coming, or for watching from home, for sharing stories and memories and dancing and praising for my mom, so we can all grieve this huge loss together. That's all for me, but my dad has also chosen something for me to read, and it's another story from her book. It's how my mom wrote how they met, so I'm going to read that. This is from my mom. The year was 1977, a tumultuous year in my life, as my first marriage, only about 18 months old, was in crisis, and I had moved from Grimsby into a tiny apartment in St. Catharines, right near where I worked, insisting that I needed a trial separation. As it turned out, it was a tumultuous year for a lot of us working at the Niagara Regional Library System. Tom's mom, Marge, had started working there just before me. As a recent grad of the Niagara College's Library Technician program, it was her first professional job, having started her 2-year college program at 48. Marge ran into the interlibrary loan department, and I ran the 16th film department. And we had Tom and little Aaron both had full heads of gorgeous blonde curls back then. Aaron was about three or four and was in the middle of a tantrum. Fortunately, an old Mickey Mouse movie in the screening room was just the ticket to settle him down. I didn't pay a lot of attention to Tom at that point, but if you ask him, he'd say that he told someone right away that he planned to marry me someday. His own divorce wasn't complete, and I was still very much married at the time, but a guy could dream. Fast forward a little while, and matchmaking mother Marge invited me to dinner one evening that Tom was going to be home from university. He was still coming back and forth from McMaster and Hamilton to Niagara-on-the-Lake on the weekends to spend time with Aaron, and probably to have his mother do his laundry. After dinner, she suggested that maybe he might like to take me down to the Anchorage, the local watering hole, for a drink. We hit it off, and the next weekend I invited him to my apartment for dinner. I'm pretty sure that this is the weekend that it became apparent to all concerned that I would not be the principal cook in any future collaborations we might do. Same story, Jennifer said. I made what I thought was a great piece. Tom. I was alone for a few months, then my sister Valerie moved back from Calgary and moved in with me. I actually don't remember how or exactly when Tom and I got back together again. It wasn't right away, but by the summer of 1979, he had moved in with Valerie and me. That was the summer we got golf memberships in Niagara and just golfed for entertainment, and we saved up enough money to go to Europe that fall. Life changed again when I got back from Europe and found a little note Val had left for me. Call your work, it's an emergency. Things had gone very sideways at the regional library in the time that I'd been gone, and they were in the process of shutting down. I worked for a few more months, distributing the film collection to member libraries, but by the spring of 1980, I was filing for unemployment insurance for the first time. I was out of work just long enough to knit a beautiful pink Afghan, the only one I've ever knit, actually. But fortunately, a job came open at the National Film Board in Hamilton, and I started work there, commuting every day from St. Catharines. Tom and I moved to an apartment in Hamilton that September, when he started his last year at McMaster. Sometime over that winter, we decided to move to Germany. Jack and Leslie, which is my dad's brother, and his wife had moved from England to Lahr, and really encouraged us to think about coming too. Tom was finishing school at the end of April, and my job at the NFB, which had been temporary for a year, was coming to an end in June. He left as soon as he could, but back in those days, a couple had to be separated for 3 years before they could legally divorce and then appear in court, so I had to wait for my court date before I could leave. I've always told the story that I hadn't 100% planned to get married again at all. It all just sort of happened when Tom... Then just to seal the deal, he got me in the family way that same day. Not really a very romantic engagement. However, recent evidence has surfaced. I was going through some old letters and found some that I'd written to Tom after he'd gone ahead to Germany. It appears that we may have actually talked about marriage, and I may have written that I was hoping and planning that we would be able to get married soon. it appears that I missed him a lot. So I guess it is good that I'm finally getting a chance to set the record straight. There was some lead up to the wedding band in the conversation. As it turned out, it took several months before my divorce papers got back and forth again from Germany to Canada, and I finally had my decree final in hand. I wanted to be married before Jessica was born, and as it was, we just made it under the wire, just able to arrange a little wedding in Switzerland in late January. But that's a story for another day. However, my dad couldn't decide if he wanted me to read this or not, but I'm going to read it. As Josh had said before, that we all kind of thought that my dad was going to go before my mom, and my dad believed that so much that he had already written a letter for her to read at his funeral. So this is what he wrote. I have had an amazing life, and I consider myself to be the luckiest person in the world. I woke up every morning knowing that the person I love and who loved me was right there beside me. It sounds cliche, but I fell in love with Wendy the very first time I met her. It was only a brief meeting, but I knew. It took a while, but she came into my life a year or so later, and I had the thrill of falling in love with her every day since. You know the first moment that you meet someone and feel it? I experience that feeling every day. Even after over 40 years of marriage, I would catch a glimpse of her and my heart would skip, and I would fall in love all over again. It's been amazing. How could I not have had a wonderful life blessed with 5 amazing children, all those girls? A few years ago, we were in Portugal and booked a private tour. Our guide was a very interesting man, and when he found out I had 4 daughters, told me I was a very rich man. He was right. The greatest gift of all, though, and Wendy would agree, is our wonderful grandchildren. My journey has been one that I never could have imagined. None of it would have been possible without the most amazing, wonderful human I have ever met, the love of my life, Wendy. Thanks.
We just have one video here we're going to share from Fabia, and then we'll open up the mic for anybody who wants to have a. Yeah, we'll play with Fabia.
Hi everybody. Hi Tom. I've really wanted to be part of the right words because there are no right words. But I wrote something down and I will read it because I don't think I will be able to otherwise. So please excuse me not speaking as freely as I would like to. I've never attended a celebration of life before, and I will not be able to do so today either. Regardless, I want to be part of it, grief and the incredible sadness I've been feeling since I got the message of Wendy's passing. It's not a common custom over here, but it is such an absolutely suitable thing to do. Wendy deserves to be remembered in a celebration in so many parts of our lives. Wendy shaped Vandenhoof so much that there's no way of her ever not being there anymore. She's there in all the beautiful people she helped form into who they are today. She's there in the community that she built, in the time, passion, and effort she invested into the artistic part of Vandenhoof. And she will absolutely always be there in countless memories. Some of these memories that I got to make with her, I want to share with you now. When I first came to Vandenhoof, after 12 years, after I went to high school there. Everything immediately felt like home again. I didn't know at that point what a large part Wendy and Tom have in making Wendy this oddly welcoming place that has always somehow captured my heart, because we hadn't met at that point yet. Within a few days, everything happened so fast, and I was right back in the community as if I had never left. The biggest factor in that development was that I luckily ran into Lisa Bergman and immediately asked her if there was a community theater play on again for me to watch. Mainly to convince myself that the absolute ridiculousness of the efforts this town pours into these plays was not just a romanticized product of my memory. Lisa kindly declined my request to watch the play and sent an email to Tom that same day to sign me up to read for a role right the next night. When I first got there, Tom honestly seemed a little intimidating to me at first, especially since I really wanted to become a part of what I consider to be the coolest group of people in Vancouver, and possibly the rest of the planet. Fortunately, I was wrong about Tom being intimidating. And fortunately, Wendy was there as well, who made me feel so welcomed and comfortable right away. She told me about how they used to live in Germany, and she even knew some German. And she just had that smile and that warmth, and that I'm sure that all of you have experienced so many times as well. From the moment that Tom invited me to actually take on the role, my time and I will not always have that family in Vancouver. And Wendy will always be such a significant part of that family for me. Sorry. Family doesn't only mean big things, like knowing I will always be welcome back home, but also way smaller but just as important things. Who was able to bake my favorite cake for me out of season, because Wendy still had some rhubarb in her freezer that she gladly when my car got stuck in the snow again. Spontaneously meeting for dinner rides when my car got stuck in the snow again. Spontaneously meeting for dinner, or leaving the grocery store way later than intended because I ran into Wendy. And it meant the possibly hardest but most beautiful goodbye of my life, with an incredibly thoughtful party and a night at the movie theater that can literally only happen because of the community that you and that Wendy created. Being part of a family like this also means that my heart is not only broken because I miss Wendy so much, and because Vancouver will not be the same without her. But it also means that I cannot bear to imagine the pain that you, Tom, and all of the other members of the family, of your family, are feeling now. It does, regardless, also mean knowing that I'm not alone with my grief, even though I am so far away. And I'm finding comfort in knowing that you are together right now, celebrating the life of this incredible woman. I do not only feel incredibly privileged to have gotten to know Wendy, but I've realized that I'm also very fortunate to have been able to actually say goodbye to her when I need to leave. I was able to tell her how much I had gotten to love and appreciate her, and I'm holding on to a beautiful card that she wrote me to say goodbye. Her passing came as a shock to me, and to many of you, as it does so often. This made actually being able to exchange our farewells so precious. I hope that all of you hold on to each other even tighter now, and share all the love that can be found in this time, with the warmth and the kindness and beauty that radiates off of Wendy's memory. I'm sending you all so much love, and I wish you, Tom, your family and friends, and everybody who loved Wendy as dearly as she loved, all the strength and hope in the world. Thank you. I'm sorry. I couldn't make it without crying. I've tried many times. Thank you for being in my heart. Bye.
Thanks, Kathy. Just thank everybody. Well, I have to read my own notes. I couldn't even read them. But Caitlin's going to come up and say one more thing before we open up the mic.
Letter from my mom is one of her oldest friends from when she was, I'm not sure how, 7? I don't know. Anyways, Amber sent it with my mom's sister, so I'm just going to read it for her. Wendy is my oldest and dearest friend, and I will miss her greatly. We started off together in grade 2 and formed a bond that was lasted years, even when we were apart. That has lasted years, even when we were apart. Wendy was a brain in school and a klutz in sports, but she tried it all anyways. There was a group of us girls we called the 5 Ding Dong. Wendy, Pat, Susan, Joanne, and myself. We were the cool ones at Curb School and enjoyed birthdays, sleepovers, and preteen fun. Wendy and I would hike to Pike Lake on hot summer days to go swimming, and the adventure would begin. Once that job was finished, we got the bright idea to go to Washgo Beach to find another drum. What? Wasago Beach, sorry. She's got handwriting like my mom, so it's hard to read. So we hopped on the bus and landed. There were there with little money and knowing no one and a little scared. But we found an Acadian owner that let us sleep upstairs. Well, that night, Wendy and I slept between 2 mattresses, no blankets or lock on the door. We looked at each other and soon continued. Wendy lived life and will always be with us. She made her mark on all of us. Tears are running down my cheeks, but there is a big smile on my face, thinking of all the love and friendship we have had over the years. I will miss you, Wendy. Love always, Amber.
Thanks, Caitlin. So yeah, if anybody wants to come say a few words, the mic's open. You're more than welcome to. I know some of the kids. Elaine and Heather.
What an honor. I feel like everything I imprinted, somebody had stolen from me. And if you fall asleep during this, that's okay, because I think we've heard it about 10 times. So today's the kind of day that is never easy. For many, the days have not been easy since Wendy passed away. Your attendance here in person and online is a testament to Wendy, who likely met you by chance, or through work at a library, an event she organized, at a place where she volunteered, book club gathering, and maybe during a summertime stroll. And you met and became instant best friends. Wendy made and collected new best friends every day. She really had that knack of collecting friends because she knew how to be a good friend. She never made herself bigger than the person at her side. And she had a way of leaning in, and we all said this today, she had a way of leaning in and asking the questions that totally pertain to something you had just been talking about. If she were here today, she would want us to gather and hug, to enjoy food, a cup of hot tea, and to go home feeling like we had made a room full of new best friends. She had a curiosity about life and people. She read voraciously because she loved to expand her knowledge, because words were her elixir. She loved saying them, she loved hearing them. She loved wooden tiles on the Scrabble board, and no, she never lost when I played against her. So, and yeah, I felt the pain, Wendy. So she loved crossword puzzles, journaling, studying, writing letters, jotting ideas on scraps of paper, music, reading scripts, and writing. And while I'm sure I wasn't the only one who wondered what Wendy would do on a day like today, maybe I can relate that she might contemplate about this event. She definitely would want her kin to gather and share the front rows with the matriarchs and patriarchs holding seats of honor alongside the children and grandchildren. They would be in clean clothes with neat hair, beards shorn, and shoes properly chosen. She would want family and friends to tell stories of her first and last accomplishments. And would expect to hear a few funny quips, which we heard about the family gatherings, the vacations, adventures to mountaintops, sandy beaches, and cold streams. She would expect to hear of brotherly and sisterly shenanigans, morning breakfast rituals, raising a house full of girls, and details of the many hockey trips traveling with the Grands on weekends. She might expect there to be details about working about libraries, about the family Christmas letter, and about all the lovely people and things that brought her joy. Yet in reality, Wendy could care less about the duty to gather, the outfits, the carefully applied eyeliner, the angst of preparing speeches or searching for just the right pictures for the PowerPoint. She was neither ceremony nor rules. She brought the same light to every occasion, and in every occasion she looked at home. In all the pictures and in all her travels, and we saw them earlier, she looks at ease. Wendy was never at odds with the environment or people, the politics or the drama. She was calm, she was joy. And while it's not fair, and while she would be dearly missed, life was not a race to Wendy. She lived each day like it was her one prized possession, for she innately understood how we each are given only one place in the queue.
This is not prepared, so I apologize if the threads are hard to put together. But I don't think we can mention Wendy's contribution to Vanderhoof if we don't mention the Good Neighbors Committee. That's how I met Wendy, and it is the epitome of Wendy's character and who she is. The Good Neighbors Committee is about diversity and inclusion and being a good neighbor to everybody. And I don't think there's many people that could do that as well as Wendy did. She wasn't going to help people and to bring people up and try and do equality. When Wendy went to meet people and to do causes, those people were right up with Wendy. She wasn't helping them, she was being with them. And I'm sorry I can't put it more elegantly, and I hope you understand what I'm saying, but she was Vanderhoof's mother. She made us all better people and brought us all together, and I don't know how we're going to get on
on without her, but we will with Tom, because wherever Wendy was Tom. Even if he wasn't with her, he was there as her partner that, yeah, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's John.
And I'm Pat. Yeah. One of the many Pats in the life here. One of them.
We first met Wendy and the Clement crew in 1990 when they moved to Kitimat. And I think it was an instant friendship. We've heard a lot today about how open and friendly Wendy was, and Tom is as well, but it was like an instant connection. Wendy was, as has been described many times today, so open, so welcoming, so inquisitive, and she made one feel like, this has been said before, the only person in the room when she was with me. Just a couple of descriptions about, or stories about the type of people that Wendy and Tom were. We first met Kitimat many years ago, and through our various travels and moves and whatever, we managed to stay friends and stay connected. And, you know, we call up and say, oh, we're coming through town, you know, can we stop by for a coffee and a pee? And we met with a 3-course meal. Yeah. My mother passed away this past spring, and we had a similar celebration of life. And Tom and Wendy showed up, and they drove 3 hours, 3+ hours to Smithers to spend an hour with us to share memories and to support, and then go 3 hours, 3+ hours back to them. Totally unexpected, totally in character. Now, I would like to, it's been mentioned a couple times about Scrabble, and the other Wendy there about being a poor sport. I have to say that with all of her character and just wonderful personality, Wendy was also a very wise woman. And she gave some advice which I took to heart and has honestly been sort of a main part of my life for many years now. And this life-changing event happened, as many things do, over a game of Trivial Pursuit. One of the players might have been me, I don't know, might have been me, but one of the players was sort of arguing, quibbling over a point, trying to get a pie in Trivial Pursuit. And I guess Wendy looked over and said, accept it, deal with it, move on. There you go. And you know, I thought about that, remembered that statement, and thought about it for 40 years now. And it's very true. Pardon my language, but shit happens. A lot of times you don't have any control over what happens or how it happens or whatever. And you just have to accept that it happens, deal with it, and then carry on with life. And I'm sure that if Wendy were here with us, I'm sure she is somehow, she would tell us, accept it, deal with it, move on. A terrible thing has happened, the grieving is hard dealing with it, but we will all have to move on. But I know I will move on with the knowledge and the appreciation of knowing Wendy and the wonderful person that she was. Tom, thank you for everything. Jessica, where are you? There you are. Hi. Jessica, Laura, Maggie, Caitlin, Aaron. I'm sure that there's a big empty spot in your lives right now. I know there is in mine. But again, there is that wonderful memory of that wonderful woman who was Wendy. It kind of carries us through that. Thank you.
I've been looking at this mic thinking that's way too low. So I didn't realize that Wendy only came to Vanderhoof in 2008. I've actually been part of this community a lot longer than she has. And when I met Wendy, I just thought she'd been here for 20 years already. So that's what kind of community member Wendy was. And she's definitely inspired me to be more involved in the community. I live a fair ways out of town, and so it's always easy to say, oh, well, you know, I'll go dancing next week, or I'll volunteer next week, or I'll do this later, or I get busy with my animals or my kids and then my grandchildren and or my business, and I haven't taken the time that I wish I would have taken that Wendy did take. So she is inspiring me, especially through hearing everybody here talk, all your memories, how revered Wendy was in living in a community, really still a newcomer. You know, Vanderhoof has deep roots, and 20 years in this community is still a newbie. So I met Wendy, I think, through Toastmasters. I think I knew Wendy earlier than that, but that's when I got to know Wendy. My mom, who's sitting over there in the wheelchair, and had a good dance with her. She and I decided to join Toastmasters, and that was great fun. Wendy was awesome. She was often the, what do you call it, Utah, wherever you are, who was a person who holds the gavel, the leader. Yeah, so between Utah and Wendy, they were the leaders. And Wendy always used to say, well, I don't really want to do a speech. She was happy organizing and keeping things going. But through Toastmasters, I think Utah encouraged me to apply for the marriage commissioner position. And this would have been 10.5 years ago. And I took it, and I learned to public speak through Toastmasters and then being the local marriage commissioner. And always I thought, boy, this is a job for Wendy. Like, Wendy could do this. So I bugged Wendy when a new position came open. There always has to be 2 in any community. And Wendy said, no, I don't think it's for me. And I said, Wendy, it is for you. You would be so good at this. So I think it took me about, oh goodness, what do you think? Maybe about 5 years to convince her. And then when she did say to me, oh, you know, maybe I'd be interested in that after all, a position happened to be coming up in about a few months, and I called the government and said, I got the gal for you. So they didn't even have to interview her. Well, they interviewed her, but they didn't put it out, you know, looking for a commissioner. Wendy got it because she was offered it. And I'm so glad, because I've heard from so many people who, you know, were married by Wendy, that she just was so charming and so lovely and so much poise. So this is what I wanted to actually
while I was sitting there, I was thinking about words that really exemplified Wendy. And lots of them have been spoken, so I won't continue with them. But I wanted to add a few of my own, and I'm going to read them slowly because I want everybody to kind of feel her in the words that I'm going to read. Of course, there was her sense of humor, her dry wit, her cheek. When I'm kind of a little off color in my humor, and a lot of people know that about me, and Wendy never missed one of my jokes. She was just such a positive person. I never heard a harsh word about anyone come out of her lips. She was the epitome of grace, of class, of charm, poise. She was fun, kind, authentic, eloquent, and boy, she was really well put together, hey? I mean, I used to have to prepare for, when Wendy and I held the marriage commissioner position together, when I would get dressed before going out to the wedding, I would often ask myself, out of all these clothes, what would Wendy pick to wear? I really liked her style. I didn't know her when she was young, and watching the slideshow was interesting because I think actually she got better looking as she got older. And she would have really, really loved that dance. So what a tribute, oh my gosh, that was so great. I'm so glad we were all invited to get up and dance as well. I wanted to just say, you know, something that I thought of when I was sitting here. Wendy really enriched our lives. Everyone here, this whole community, all the people she married, all the little people she influenced. And I think, if I could say, life is just a collection of present moments. And Wendy was one of the most present people I've ever known. So happy birthday, Wendy. And we will see you again someday, you know. Thanks.
Well, I wasn't gonna, but I'm gonna now. She's like, it's an open mic. I met Wendy through the Good Neighbors Committee with the Saints in Korea. And I have to admit, I was so sad when I heard she had passed, and I let my sister know right away. And I felt guilty for thinking this, but I'm like, we've lost someone who really gets it. We lost somebody who, as someone said, like, stands with people. And so I'm very thankful to have known her and to be supported by her, and that I was always happy to see her. She was always happy to see me, so that just feels super. Sing a song, and then Lisa's like, "Where's my drum for support?" And I thought, well, total diversity committee. So right on, Lisa. She goes, "Is it appropriate? Bring your drum." And it's funny because I hear everybody clapping and stuff, and I think so. Traditionally, we don't clap after a song, and you see more people do that. But people don't know, kids don't know. And I thought she would say, "Tell them." So I'll share a song, and I just, I'm very sorry for your guys' loss. A beautiful person who I believe still is one. And yeah, it's good.
This isn't easy. She was all the sadder and more. She was a dear friend, and I just wanted to share something with you. Tom, in his beautiful way, kept us informed when she was taken. And he texted me and said, as Wendy said, that he needed our prayers, and they needed a miracle. I turned up all the technology that was in my house, the lights and everything, and I sat very still, and I just opened myself to what was happening. And about 7:30, there was a vision of these beings with fluttering wings, and then there was Wendy. And it was Wendy, she was about 30 years old. She had on a cocked green hat with a feather, and she had a smile on her face, and it was like, I brought this. And that was, I knew that we lost Wendy and such a dear soul. And Yuta came over later to share with me, and it was a precious moment, and I'm thankful for that. But Wendy will always be with us in our hearts, and she's got this. So bless you all in this family. Such a beautiful, beautiful family.
I just want to share a few words. My name is Reg Mueller. My wife is the chief out at Sycus. She gives things regrets and condolences to all the family. She wanted me to say that Wendy was very much appreciated by the community. She made an impact with a lot of the people out there that also worked for the college. I worked with Wendy at the college, and I worked on the Good Neighbors Committee and different initiatives like that. And Wendy was a very strong person on that committee, and she was a very strong person to work with. She was one of those people that, even when she said things that you didn't necessarily agree with, she always said it with a type of a smile, like you really couldn't disagree with her. And she made a large impact on a lot of us. It was a real pleasure working with her. And I found myself lately thinking of the last time I seen her down at the post office, and I didn't know it was going to be the last time I seen her. And she just, what ended up being me going to check the mail, ended up being like a 5-10 minute chat with Wendy. That's how she was. She was genuinely interested in how I was doing and the things I was working on, and it wasn't in a way that you felt like, she was imposing or anything like that. She really was genuinely interested in how I was doing. I felt that, And I didn't know that was the last time I was going to see Wendy, but if I'd known that, we gave her a hug because that's how I felt about her. And when I grew up, we had my uncles and my aunts, the way that we used to talk about different people. We had a name for people like Wendy, and that way we describe people like Wendy, we call them real people. And because Wendy was real, there was no pretense. And she told you what was on her mind. Tom as well, we appreciate that, Tom. I always believed that God will give us the opportunity during our memorial or female to be able to maybe look in and see what people thought of us possibly. It's just my own belief, but I feel Wendy here with us today, and I just believe she'd be really happy with the way she was honored today. Thank you.
that's it for the open mic. Bernd and Peter are going to come up and sing a few songs for us.